Live from Las Vegas. Mitchell Renz, Peanut Gallery. Nation, we'll get started here in just a second. Let you guys get in here. Twitter, YouTube, what up?
Are we going live?
Gotcha. Raider Nation coming to you week 10. Coming in hot, feeling good. This weekend is brought to you by Happy Dad Pacifico and Woodson Whiskey. Make sure you tap in with our weekend events. Where's the camera? Camera's up there. What is up, Raider Nation? Tap in. We got the party bus rolling tomorrow. Got some people jumping in. Let's get this thing going.
Party bus.
What is up, Nation? Coming to you live here in Las Vegas from the Blue Wire Studios. Joining me as a special guest co-host today, Mitchell Renz. What is up, dude?
What's up, brother? It's good to see you. Man, I'll tell you what, the last time I was out here, week 3, Sunday Night Football against the Steelers game, a lot of excitement now. No longer Josh McDaniels. I mean, to me, this is like a totally different feel. I saw 77% of the fans are going to be Raider fans rocking and rolling in the Allegiant Stadium. The amount of fans that I have seen out here this weekend, for a long time since they've hired McDaniels, I was kind of like, man, this whole guy, he's a shit show. I feel like I'm a very proud Raider fan right now.
Yeah, you led the train on the firing. I was a little slower than you, and then I think, obviously there's the optimistic fans.
Sure.
They came into the season, and I didn't want to bad talk them too much right off the jump. Let's see where it goes. Let's see what happens.
Yep.
And we, I guess, kind of got what we expected, right? Let them go. Fresh start. Everything's revitalized. The team, the coaching staff, the players, the fans, every bit about it feels so much better. And just like you said, 77% according to Vivid,
Yep.
which is really good. I mean, obviously 3/4 of the fan base being in the stadium is probably almost the best that we've seen since our playoff run 2 years ago.
Yeah, shit. I mean, when you have the amount of electric feel, again, for people who aren't out here this weekend, I mean, the amount of Raider fans that I've come up to that are just I'm not even shitting you, 3 or 4 of them are like, yo, thank you so much for getting McDaniels out of here. I get it. I might have been leading the charge for a long time because, you can know the X's and O's, you can do all that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day in the NFL, and then, it goes with life. If you can't lead a group of men, you're never going to be successful, especially as a head coach, and that's kind of what McDaniels was, and it was unfortunate. I mean, I wish I was wrong. I wish that the Raiders would have been able to win with him, but you know what? Antonio Pierce, I'm telling you right now, I'd run through a freaking wall for that guy.
That was the immediate reaction.
Loved it. Oh, put it in my veins. I mean, it was totally different compared to McDaniels.
Yeah. That first press conference that he had and was just, speaking how he probably always has. That's how he's lived life as a football player.
Yep.
Coming out and, I guess, being that leader now for this team. So many fans. I just seen it down my whole timeline for 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll run through a wall for him. I'm ready to suit up right now. I'm ready to run through a brick wall. So
absolutely.
When you see stuff like that, you got to imagine how the players feel. And you saw the immediate change from head to toe, not just the players' attitude, but the fun they were having, the transactions that they were making. It just seemed like a complete flip-flop.
Yeah.
So that goes to show me what kind of disagreements were already happening inside that front office, inside the locker room, to see in 2 or 3 days span, all of a sudden everything – we're doing it the opposite way, and it's completely freaking working. And it kind of pisses me off that it took so long to happen.
I mean, you've been a Raider fan longer than I have, and Antonio Pierce is a Raider. He just eats it, he breathes it, he says it. I mean, he makes every single person very proud to wear that silver and black, to rep that shield, and he's bringing that to the players. And, the thing that I saw after that game, which, just spoke volumes to everything, was one game ball, right? Josh Jacobs has a game ball. He gives it to Antonio Pierce. Devontae Adams has a game ball. He gives it to Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah.
Max Crosby has a game ball. He gives it to Champ Kelly, right? When you see some type of shit like that go down, I can say whatever I want. You can say whatever you want. Those guys out there can say whatever they want. When that happens,
yeah, it's over.
That tells you. I mean, that tells you everything that you needed to know.
Yeah, and they're frustrated last year. But see, you can see the head-to-head pretty much of a post-game presser after a Raiders win with McDaniel speaking, and a post-game presser, or not presser, but locker room video, right, of what happened after this last win. Completely flip-flopped. You're watching, obviously, there's a close-up on McDaniels talking to the locker room. Nobody's really in tune. Everyone's just kind of back at their lockers. There's a couple guys kind of poking around, probably bench players, just kind of hanging out. And this last one, just to see the captains involved, everybody involved, this is what we wanted as Raider fans. Also, since they're sitting here just looking at me. Shout out to the peanut gallery that we have tuning in today. We got Mikey's Vision, the video guy.
Yes, sir.
And Dalton,
Hey.
Counterfeit Clothing.
That's right.
Dalton Dillinger? How do you say it?
Dylan Durr.
Dylan Durr.
D. Strong D at the end.
Durr. Strong D.
I think
Double D for Daddy Dick.
It was poking out before the show.
That's why they're the peanut gallery. I saw some nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dad.
I have kids.
It works. I'm surprised, man. I thought I was infertile after all the drinking I've done over the last years.
How do you guys feel, I guess, going into this weekend?
I think one of the coolest things coming out of last week was hearing him talk about the practice squad being on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Like just the energy that gives to the starters, the gumption that gives to the practice squad to be out there on game day. Like, I think like that's just an incredible first move to make, like right out of the gate, you know. And if you didn't love him already, like you love him even more now.
Yeah. Shout out to CJ in the chat. I see you in there. Drop some questions. If you guys are on Twitter or YouTube, drop some questions. We'll get to them. We want to cover a lot of the offense, a lot of the defense, and we'll start going through it. Mikey,
Yo.
you are the man behind the lens
Always.
at all of our events,
Always.
at the tailgate. Go to a lot of games. How's the energy changing on your end?
Man, AP's dope. Like you said, run through a wall with that guy.
Yeah.
That guy's just for the first game. I mean, I went to this first game last week, and it was, the energy was totally different. Like you could just tell. And, you know, him on the field was running around, you know, making sure the players were cool, high-fiving, doing all that stuff. Man, it was just like the whole energy's different. He was wearing a Raider hoodie. He wasn't even in a polo.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
And no visor.
Yeah, nothing.
visor.
No visor. Thank God.
thank
And he pulled up in his 64 Impala.
That thing is bad.
Bro, like what head coach pulls up like that, lifted on it, you know what I'm saying, pulling in, and then comes out in a hoodie.
Straight out of Compton.
Yeah, that was some Oakland Raider vibes.
Man, I'm
last
telling
week.
you, but that's good because I wanted to come back to that always. I want everyone like how it was when I first became a Raider, right? A fan. It was everyone was scared of us. Like we would fight on the field no matter what. I know it's not football, but at the end of the day, man, like we used to fight all the time. It used to be a whole brawl, even in the stands, right?
Yeah.
Like I want that energy to come back where every team feared us because we'd fight, not because we'd win, but we would throw down if we had to. You know what I'm saying?
People didn't like us because of it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, like I think AP would bring that back. Not saying the full fighting, but the full energy of that, what that brought. So
The Oakland Raiders.
Yeah,
I mean, you're trying to build, you know, not just one good season. You're trying to build something special. And I think when you have a head coach like Antonio Pierce, who was an undrafted player, you know, had to work his way onto the field, then became a leader on that Giants team, and ended up winning the Super Bowl, was a head coach at high school football in 2014, and now 10 years later, he's an interim head coach and a very well-respected person in that locker room. It's hard not to root for him. I hope that he is the next head coach. Obviously, you got to win a few games, got a few tough ones coming up here, but if you don't root for Antonio Pierce, you're probably invited to Josh McDaniels Thanksgiving. Like, that's the only way that you're not rooting for him.
Yeah. I love it. Shout out to the chat. I see you in there. Ivan, shout out to the moderator. CJ, Graphic, what is going on, man? OLV Raiders Network in the house. Martin, what is going on?
That's my guy.
Offense. Let's start with,
Yeah.
I guess, the biggest flip-flop, right? Defense has been holding their own all season. They've been on the field a lot. So, obviously, we saw a good progressive game from them this last week.
Yep.
But offense completely flipped over. I just want to start with Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
This is the Josh that we were hoping to get back.
Yep.
We were scared, and I think, he caught a little flack early in the season because he wasn't looking in shape. People are saying he wasn't looking as quick, but he was getting hit early, and it just seemed like every time we ran the ball, it was so predictable.
Yep.
This last game was creative. We spread the offense out. He looked good. Number 8 finally looks good. I was like, where's 28 at? But I like number 8. What do you think about Josh?
I mean, it's always going to start, and here's the reason why you don't pay running backs in the NFL. Josh Jacobs comes off an incredible season where he has over 2,000 total yards, but if you can't build things around him, the running back position really doesn't matter in the NFL, and that's the unfortunate part. Has he looked slower? Yes. Did he lose maybe a step or two? Sure, but he's getting a lot better. One of the things that I saw this past week that I freaking love that they did was instead of doing a lot of power run, they went zone, because one of my favorite things that Jacobs can do is his vision is not nearly talked about nearly enough. So they went more like a little bit of a zone run, and, go figure, when you take a quarterback off the field that I jokingly said it all the time, but I actually think I can. I can throw a football further than Jimmy Garoppolo. No, and that's not a pat on my back. Yeah. That's how bad Jimmy Garoppolo has been. But now, your offensive line's not facing stacked boxes anymore. You at least have a quarterback that has the threat to throw the football down the field. Even the wide receivers, like running routes, you can't tell me like Hunter Renfrow, Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, they look more motivated to go out there. And from top to bottom, the offense played well. I was impressed with the offensive line. I'm a little bit worried with the offensive line this week. I was talking to Jermaine Illuminor yesterday. He's going to be starting at left tackle. Thayer Munford's going to start at right tackle, and then they're still going to roll with the interior offensive line that they have with Dylan Parham, Andre James, Greg Van Roten, but going up against the New York Jets, one of the best defenses, one of the best fronts in the league.
Yeah.
And you don't have Colton Miller, who is top 5 left tackle with your rookie quarterback. This is the matchup that I am scared of probably the most in this game this week.
Yeah. No, I can see it. It's gonna be a problem for Jermaine. He could be a great right tackle, but switching over to left, your mechanics are completely flipped.
Yeah, it's like using your right hand and then you're using your left.
Yeah, now he's a lefty.
Hey, I've heard if you sit on your hand long enough, it feels like somebody else is doing it.
I heard that too.
Did you? Or did you tell yourself?
No, I just heard it.
No, actually, right before I was here, I was wiping my ass with my left hand. It's a totally different experience.
That's good. You
You gotta switch it up
gotta
once in a
switch.
while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just got to wrap around your back.
You're in Vegas, you got to let your hair down a little bit.
I shook your hand too after.
Oh, my right hand, not my left.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Checking.
Use the non-shaken hand. I like with the receivers, like you're saying, they're running. It feels more motivated.
Yeah.
I think also because they can finally do their own thing. Hunter Renfrow is, I guess, the main product of that. Hunter Renfrow is a one-of-a-kind receiver in the NFL. Nobody's going to be able to do what Hunter Renfrow does. But Hunter Renfrow also can't do what other receivers do and how they do it. He has his own specific style, and that's what's made him successful. And we heard him talk about that 2 or 3 years ago when he said, hey, I'm either going to keep doing it the coach's way or I'm going to start running it my own way, getting with Derek, one-on-one. As long as the quarterback knows what they're doing,
Sure.
It's going to work out. And he said, I'm either going to do it their way and not be in the NFL, or I'm going to do it my own way and make some plays. So now we just saw it again. It's like, hello, deja vu.
Hell yeah.
I mean, it's in pressers, it's in news articles. Why didn't we do this before? I'm just glad to see number 13 back and actually making plays the way we love him. Third and Renfro's back.
I mean, you get an offensive guru in Josh McDaniels here, and one of the things that drives me nuts sometimes with these guys is an ego, and let's just call a spade a spade. Josh McDaniels had a big time ego, but to me, the offenses that are really successful in the National Football League are offenses that, all right, I have a whole bunch of talent. I'm going to build an offense around the talent that I have instead of, well, here's my offense. I'm going to try to force everybody into doing it this way. And that's kind of what has killed McDaniels. And I love me some Hunter Renfrow. I like, he's a hell of a route runner, but what makes him great is that backyard football type of, let's just F around and find out. And unfortunately, we haven't really been finding out too much with Renfrow. Now I do think it's going to get better. But, man, like there was videos on the sidelines in that game last week, and players are coming up to him and, like, dapping him up. He's happy. The smile's there. Like, there's no way you go from being a receiver that has over 100 catches in your third year. And then, his fourth year in the league, his final year with DC was definitely a bit of a struggle, had some injuries. And now in the situation that he's in, he's got to be looking around like, what the hell do I have to do to not only get on the field, but get some looks? And now that McDaniels is gone, it's the way that we feel as fans is the way that players feel. Like I'm telling you, I was the amount of players I was talking to the few days before McDaniels got fired and just what people were telling me of just, it's time. Like he's got to go. And now it's just a breath of fresh air. I'm excited to see what they do this weekend. Sunday Night Football, big time game, because then it gets tough. Miami, Chiefs, it gets tough real quick.
Yeah. Now we get to see what the team does in almost now a week and a half.
Yeah.
When before they prepared for the last game, 3-4 days.
Mm-hmm.
And that already so much changed.
Yeah.
So now we have a full week. We're coming off a big win. These guys, I think, have the mentality where they have nothing to lose. And you could see that the last game.
Yep.
They decided to flip everything over. What's the worst that happens? They don't score 20 points in a game. We've been doing that all season. Who cares? So now we have a full week. They're, I think, more confident than ever, more than they ever were even last season. Yeah. So this weekend I think is going to be huge, and I would love to see us embarrass a very stout Jets defense.
I just want to see Aiden O'Connell do his thing. Like last week, he didn't do anything spectacular, and I don't need Aiden O'Connell to do anything above than just run a successful offense, don't turn over the football, because to me, when they can run the rock with Jacobs is when they're at their best. This season, when the Raiders have won all 4 of their games, Jacobs is averaging 26 touches a game, right? Like, to me, That's going to be the recipe for success for the silver and black. Don't get me wrong. I love me some Devontae Adams. I think Jacoby Myers is probably one of the more underrated players in the league. What's up, Julian Edelman? I mean, it was literally Julian Edelman.
Oh, shit, it really was.
No, it was. He literally just walked
That was
by.
literally Julian Edelman.
And then there's my dad right there. Hey, what's up, Pops? No, but I mean, like, they have unbelievably talented receivers and, good tight ends, a lot of double tight end sets that I want to see. But the way that this game is going to be won, converting in the red zone, executing, and just doing all the right things. Is there a way someone could get him in?
Yeah.
Mike, you want to grab him?
We'll get someone out there. I'll grab him.
Cool. Thank you.
Sweet. Shout out to the chat. Make sure you get those questions in. Raider Wolf, I see you in there. Again, shout out to our moderator, Ivan. I do want to say, I'm not going to say why, but congratulations, dude. Happy for you and what's to come. Raider Wolf says, I think Antonio Pierce is a good talker in that, but we need to see what happens against the Chiefs and Dolphins. I agree. That's kind of where you set the bar.
Yeah,
Antonio Pierce isn't built, he's not coming in. He wasn't hired as a head coach. He kind of got thrown in the mix.
Yep.
So at this point, him being a good talker and firing the guys up is exactly, I think, what we need.
and I get it. Like, it's just like running the company, right? Like, you don't need your head coach to know all the X's and O's. And obviously it helps. And I'm not saying Antonio Pierce doesn't know the X's and O's. But to me, I want a head coach that gives you that feeling, that gives you that fire that, you know what, I'm going to show up on game day. But then I'm also going to show up Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do everything that I can for that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to play for that head coach. You hire a coordinator, you hire a defensive coordinator, they can draw up the X's and O's. They can do all that kind of stuff. And you're seeing more and more. My favorite team right now to watch, and they're, it's the Detroit Lions, because I do think teams take on the identity of their leader. And Dan Campbell is another tough mother effer.
Yep.
And the Detroit Lions go out there and they play some tough football. When you looked at how the Raiders played with Josh McDaniels, they took on the identity of Josh McDaniels.
Mm-hmm.
Josh McDaniels, if I can make a reference here, you might as well cross your legs while you're taking a shit. Like, to me, he is tuck it between your legs every single day of the week. And that's how he is. And that's how the Raiders played.
Yeah.
Now you got Antonio Pierce out there, and it's showing on the field. You got players ripping stogies after a win. Like, they celebrated that sucker like it was a huge time Super Bowl. And why? Because they knew it. It was a flip.
And for all those people that decided to get on the Raiders for smoking cigars after a midseason win against the Giants, screw you. Just because you have nothing to celebrate in life, don't get mad at the Raiders because they celebrated something big.
Yeah,
I got mad because of the cigars they were smoking.
What was it?
The acid.
Oh.
No,
there's 53 of them, plus coaching staff. It eats into that budget, man. Mark Davis is paying for two coaches kind of still.
Just gave $85 million to Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels. Like,
I think they were more celebrating the sending McDaniels off than they really were celebrating the win.
The good vibes.
No, I did 26 straight hours. That shit was wild.
That was wild.
Oh yeah, you did a 24-hour thing. I said
if the Raiders fire Josh McDaniels, I'll go live for 24 straight hours. So I went live for 26 hours straight. But what was crazy was the night before, I'm live on the Raiders Report. If you guys don't already know, check out Raiders Report on YouTube. We do a lot of content over there. But I'm live on Tuesday. I go home, and you ever you're laying in bed, and you're like, I don't really know if I'm asleep. And then my producer Chugs calls me, goes, dude, it happened. Wake up. We got to go to the studio. So I was awake for probably 44 straight hours.
Oh, so you did it immediately.
You went live that night.
Oh, no, at least got a 12-hour nap.
No, I was live at 1 a.m. I'm going to say, I don't know if I fell asleep. I was live at 1 a.m. We let that sucker roll until 3 a.m. because then once we got to 24 hours, we were like, oh, if you want to stay live an extra hour, what is it at that point? So people threw in some super chats. Shit got wild. But the last 2 hours, I'm telling you right now, it was the most delirious, most fun. I don't even know. I don't know how we got through it. But I'll tell you what, there were people, shout out to Nico Laz if he's watching, bro calls off work. There were Raiders people that called off work that watched that entire 26-hour stream, and they were like, hey, I'm here to party. But that's how big of a moment that was. It was the amount of people that were like, dude, it happened. And I think that was a powerful thing for Raider fans because, so often people are like, you're not going to get a head coach fired. It's never going to happen. And people could tell you a lot of things in life, that's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. I'm sure when you wanted to start your podcast, you're like, that's dumb. I started the podcast in my dad's attic, and people were like, bro, that's insane. But you know what? Sometimes you got to be a little insane. And comment Fire McDaniels on everything. I mean, they turned off the comments, right?
Yeah.
And then it got to a point.
That was great. As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, they're mad.
Oh, dude. My voice, I mean, there's at times like where I actually miss tweeting Fire McDaniels. Like there's at nights where I like wake up and I'm like, Fire McDaniels. You know what I mean? Like, and now I don't know what to do.
Yeah, just
now
like
I need a new bit.
A list in the drafts.
A new bit.
Dude,
So I would say you led the train on social media. And then, of course, we have Vegas Ralph. Shout out to Vegas Ralph, who boots on the ground.
Great signs.
He was basically you in person.
That was sick.
Well, he's a lot more intimidating than me, so I'm glad he was the one in person. I'll stick to back here behind the camera. But, I mean, the Just Fire Josh thing, I mean, you saw it with Mark Davis, the anger in there, because there's no way you can watch that product and be like, this is what I want.
That's the problem is we can get mad at Mark all we want, but in the same breath, he saw what we saw. He wants to win just as much as we do. He doesn't want a bad product out there on the field.
Sure.
He made a decision and unfortunately had to stick with it just for a little bit. We knew he wasn't going to really fire him last year just because of the commitment of the contract.
Yeah.
So we're going to give that second year another test run. There was a part of me that thought, man, like with the amount of this contract, I could see him even trying him the third year and firing him in the third year. I was almost convinced. I don't want to say too much. Definitely wanted to get rid of McDaniels, but I could have saw the third year, and I'm just glad he pulled the trigger. He listened to Raider Nation. He's a fan just like we are. So I got some people in the chat saying that you are Julian Edelman's twin. That's probably what it was. You probably just saw your reflection in the window.
I mean, I'm not shitting you. I looked up and I was like, oh shit, I think that's Julian Edelman. And I used to live in Boston. This is before I started doing my podcast, or I did my podcast. Nobody ever listened to it, so I moved to Boston to learn how to like marketing and all that kind of stuff. And the amount of times that people were like, "Are you Julian Edelman?" Which here's the thing. If you saw Julian Edelman, how much larger of a human being he is than me.
He's so stocky.
I mean, it's not even close. Like, I have a beard, and that's it. I'm a white guy with a beard. Technically, I should be able to.
You guys all look the same. I mean, look at you three.
McDaniels' offense.
I get a knockoff Chris Evans pretty often.
Chris Evans?
Like a shittier version of Chris Evans.
Like the Dollar General version?
But if I was just like, a little more handsome and taller and like better looking.
I get a knockoff of Mitch.
I get it pretty
all the
often,
time.
though.
Me?
Yeah, everyone thinks I'm you. Yeah,
Especially with that tongue ring.
yeah, bro.
You're like the trailer park version of Mitch.
Hey, like the trailer. Yeah. We could go with that. I'm in on that.
Drop in the chat where you guys are listening from, watching from, Twitter, YouTube, where you watch. I see Fontana in there. I see Long Beach. What is going on, Nation? I know everyone's hyped. Again, 77% estimated on Vivid. I expect it to be more just because, we're not even looking at season ticket holders.
Yeah.
I think a lot of locals are going to come out. That's what Vegas is built on. Vegas is built on winning. Vegas does not like losers. They don't like to pull up to roulette and cheer on their roulette table just to lose, right? They want to win. That's all about that good luck.
I mean, if you're coming to Vegas to gamble to lose, I got other questions.
That's why they're not going to cheer for the Raiders if they're going to lose.
I mean, you got the Vegas Golden Knights, winners. The Aces, winners. The Raiders have got to turn it around because I don't know if the A's will ever do it, but I'm hoping that the Raiders can.
I'd like to see the A's hopefully not.
I'm a Mets fan, though, so I can't really.
I think we need an NBA team here before we need a baseball team, personally.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, hey, I know you got the hats, but yeah, we need an NBA team.
Hey,
We're not going to talk about that out loud.
Crazy that on that note, like Vegas is the smallest city to have 3 major sports teams.
Dang.
Like by far. It's like,
well, look at you're packing everyone in here like sardines.
Yeah.
And F1 is just mixing everything all up for you.
crazy.
F1 is
crazy.
it's a mess out there. I mean,
I'd like to see the results. Year 1.
Yeah, we'll see.
And it's going to be a mess every year for 10 years.
I see you guys in the chat. We got Oakland in the house. England over the pond.
What's up?
San Jose, Bakersfield, close to me.
Over the pond. Who's in the pond? Is that Martin? I got a
Martin.
guy.
Yep.
Yeah, I already knew it.
Wow.
Tracy. Fontana.
What's up, Martin?
Does he come out to the games?
Does not come out to the games, but he's legitimately on every show that I do. Martin, who watches from start to finish. What up, Martin?
Overseas Raider fans are intense.
I mean,
Probably some of the best Raider tattoos I've seen is on a guy from Germany. Oh, and from, Boston.
I'm from PA.
Okay, from Pennsylvania.
I lived over in Germany for a little bit. Nothing too crazy.
Actually?
Yeah, I speak German. Yeah, I played professional baseball in Germany for a year, and professional baseball.
9.
Yep. Yeah, that was my baseball number, but also no.
I told him to stop.
Danke.
I got a German Shepherd, so I taught him how to stop. 9.
It's a wild language, I'll tell you that. I mean, it was, you go from being in college to then literally, I was in kindergarten. I took 20 hours a week of German lessons, and it's how I started my podcast because I miss talking English and I miss talking about, real football to me. So I'd record myself on my bike rides to baseball practice there and back. And I was like, oh, shit, this is super therapeutic. I wonder if I actually did this. And then I moved back to the States. My dad actually built me my desk in the attic where I started doing podcasts and stuff like that and writing articles. Yeah, it was super surreal, but hey, we're here now.
Here you are.
Are you a Bayern fan?
Who?
Bayern?
I don't watch soccer.
Ah, okay.
No?
No, I have friends.
Go blue. Go blue. So we have Silver and Black 909 in here. I still suspect that JMD was sabotaging the team. I thought for sure Hoyer would be benched after halftime during the Bears game. I was absolutely beside myself. I don't want to go in too much on Josh McDaniels because, it is what it is now.
Yep.
But I could almost agree. The problem is he was so bad that we can make an argument that he was sabotaging the team.
See, I think the problem with McDaniels, and this is a problem with probably a lot of these guys, you get a big ego, okay? And sometimes when you're an adult, you have to admit that you're wrong, and that's okay. Like everybody's going to make mistakes. It's how do you see the mistake and correct it? What McDaniels did that just drove all of Raider Nation insane was, here's the mistake. I'm just going to keep doing it over and over and over again and not change anything, blame everybody else. Mm-hmm. Like that's just not good leadership. And when you do that, I mean, imagine as a player, like, again, one of the players I was talking to literally told me, he's like, yeah, on my day off, like, we're going to go in there and they're just going to blame us for everything. I mean, if a player's flat out saying that, I mean, that tells you, like, they feel like they're wasting time. Nobody wants to feel like their time's being wasted. Yeah. And when McDaniels is sitting up there talking to you, I mean, think about when McDaniels would do a press conference. That's if that's what he did in front of people, that's probably the way that he taught. That's probably the way that he spoke to players in the locker room. And if you're a player sitting there in the locker room, you're like, Jesus Christ, you're like, when the hell is this guy getting out of here? Mm-hmm. It's exhausting.
Yeah, he didn't rely on their opinion at all. And now we see with this new coaching staff, you're relying on your captains and your playmakers to help you make decisions of what they can do better. Hey, Devontae, what do you think that you're missing in this offense? What can we change to do better? How hard is that? How many coaches in this league were former players? They know what they're doing. They didn't learn more football afterwards. Yep. They learned while they were playing. So why not? Hey, I mean, let's talk about Max Crosby, Defensive Player of the Year.
No doubt.
Should be, right?
Should be.
But unless we start winning more games, will he be?
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate part with Max. I mean, I really hope because, man, that guy deserves it. He's the only player in the NFL right now with over 50 pressures. You look at the amount of snaps he plays, the amount of tackles he has, and, I get it. Like, people look at sack numbers because that's getting after the quarterback. But for how often he's on the field and then what he does in the running game just doesn't get nearly enough love.
He leads the league in tackle for losses. He leads the league in pressures. He's a half sack behind the leader, which
he's got 9.5 right now. I mean, he's the best player on defense in the league. He's also a great leader. But back to the whole Devontae thing, I can't wrap my mind around a head coach or general manager that says, yeah, you know what we're going to do? We're going to trade a first and a second round pick for a star receiver. Cool. Then we're going to move on from Derek Carr, which I still think that was the right thing to do. Devontae Adams looks at you in the eyes and says, hey, I want to be somewhat a part of this next quarterback. Cool. You totally ignore him. You don't get the quarterback that he wants. Josh McDaniels apparently was the only one that wanted Jimmy Garoppolo. Apparently Dave Ziegler didn't. Yeah. There's rumors out there, which has been talked about. I know Graf was talking about it back in March where he was like, Ziegler wants C.J. Stroud. Bryce Young was the guy that McDaniels wanted. But you ignored Devontae Adams after trading for him. I can't imagine how much of a God complex you got to have to just be like...
You're just lying to his face.
I'm smarter than Devontae Adams. No, you're not.
Yeah, he played for Aaron Rodgers. I mean...
But even...
He knows what he wants in a quarterback.
But even Devontae, when Devontae didn't have Aaron, even back at those Green Bay days, he was getting with Brett Huntley.
Yeah.
Was still able to put up numbers. I really think Devontae was quarterback proof. The only person that has been able to impact Devontae Adams' stats, Josh McDaniels. Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo was horrific this season.
Yeah, he was a lot worse than,
we put Brian Hoyer and Jimmy Garoppolo on a football field, and we're 4-5 right now.
I didn't expect to have as bad a production as we did out of Jimmy G. Coming into it, I'm thinking, we're immediate comparison. We got rid of Derek. We bring in Jimmy G. I'm sitting here thinking, okay, it's about the same, right?
Yeah.
Jimmy just can't throw the ball down the field. That's the only difference. We think that, okay, now he can come in, he's going to listen to Josh, and we're going to see actually how this system sees itself through. when that didn't work out, obviously it shows all of our offensive success last year came from Derek pretty much just saying, hey, I'm just going to do what I think is best on this play.
Well, I mean, I think it really starts with, again, you just can't stack the box. And I think a lot of times, like, it was almost just as simple as that, where, yeah, Derek wasn't the best quarterback out there. And I agree with you. I thought it was going to be Jimmy Garoppolo, Derek Carr. You bring in somebody that's going to be able to execute McDaniels' offense a little bit better. But when you can't throw a ball 20 yards down the field, teams just stack the box. And, I got to give DC more credit because he was able to at least stretch the field here and there, and that takes a lot of pressure off. That helps out Jacobs to get your running game going. And it's no secret, the 2 games that Jimmy Garoppolo's not on the field, Aiden O'Connell's out there. Josh Jacobs in week 4, sure, it's a loss, has 120 or 139 total yards of offense. This past week, 26 carries, 98 yards, 2 touchdowns. And sure, the yards per carry isn't all that great, but if you watch that game, the Raiders were in so much control of that Giants game. I was hoping they were going to drop a 50-burger.
Yeah.
I think
they kind of could have. They let their foot off the gas a little bit.
Probably smart. I mean, you don't want to maybe totally show everything. And, we're giving a lot of flowers to Champ Kelly. We're giving a lot of flowers to head coach Antonio Pierce. I mean, Bo Hardegree, I thought Bo called a hell of a game. I thought he coached his dick off. I really did. I mean, it was a fun offense. You could see there was a lot more life into it. And sure, Devontae didn't have a big game. Jacoby didn't have a big game. But, I mean, it was spreading the rock.
Well, we did the exact right thing with our rookie quarterback, putting him into just control the offense situation, get the ball in our playmakers' hands.
Yeah.
Yak. That's what we needed. And we got it. And we didn't put Aiden in a spot to force turnovers.
Yep.
We don't want that. We didn't want. I think that's the only reason we left the foot off the gas.
Sure.
We're not going to keep pushing the ball down the field. We're not going to let our rookie get, an interception or 2 or, take a couple sacks when we don't need to.
Yeah.
Hey, that was a good warm-up, get your feet wet, and get your confidence built up. And now, again, going into the Jets, he needs every bit of that confidence going into it. And that Devontae Sauce Gardner matchup is going to be fun to watch.
I mean, right now the New York Jets have the top 2 corners in the league. DJ Reed, according to the PFF, is number 1, and you got Sauce as number 7. And I mean, super, super talented, no doubt about it. But I mean, again, we're sitting up here talking so much offense. To me, this is going to be a defensive game. You got to make Zach Wilson beat you. And to me, I'm stacking the box. I'm not letting Breece Hall get going, because if Breece Hall and that running game gets going, who I really think Breece Hall is one of the most underappreciated running backs in the league, against a Raiders front, which this might surprise people. We need defensive tackles. We need interior help. Let's be real here. Can we freaking do that sooner or later? But you got to contain Breece Hall. I'm playing box and 1, some side of double bracket coverage. I'm not letting Garrett Wilson beat me. And you got to make Zach Wilson try to throw the football as much as you possibly can, because the Jets' offense stinks. I mean, back-to-back weeks, they looked really bad. I'm talking like Dalton get out of the tub bad. You know what I mean? Like, it's brutal. They were bad against the Chargers. They were bad against the Giants. And to me, if you let Zach Wilson just try to beat you, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because if you get behind with Breece Hall, man, I don't know.
If we let our scrappy DBs get going again, Amik Robertson.
Oh, dude, I love Amik.
Playing like a dog. I mean, here's the thing: is he's
Antonio Pierce. He's playing with heart.
Yeah,
that's what you need.
He's shown flashes in the past. Obviously, he's had a couple big interceptions for us. This last game, did he need it? No. I mean, we're spanking him anyways. Yeah. But the game-sealing one that he already had, Nate Hobbs coming in, being healthy again. Yeah. Is Epps playing?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, he is. To me, revitalize that secondary.
And I think that's one of those moves that's a very underappreciated move. It kind of reminds me of, the Deron Harmon at safety, where he knew the defense like the back of his hand, like a Casey Hayward knew the Gus Bradley's defense like the back of his hand. When you bring in a player like Marcus Epps, who led the Philadelphia Eagles the year before that in snaps, right? Like, he wasn't the captain, but he was a defensive captain on a Philadelphia Eagles team that went to the Super Bowl. You're able to bring him in on a 2-year, $12 million deal. And he's not the greatest player in coverage, but his ability to just do everything.
Yeah.
And it's a very important role, especially in a Patrick Graham defense. Like, you've seen Patrick Graham safeties in the past, like a Jabril Peppers, where you're going to ask him to do a lot. You're going to ask him to play back. You're going to ask him to play in the box, like this linebacker safety type of hybrid role. And that's what Epps and Merrick, especially Merrick. Merrick, shout out to him.
What game was it? Was that Bears game when Merrick, I think, came out for a little bit? They put in Palomalu, and then they moved Epps.
I blacked out in that Bears game. That was a frustrating game.
And I want to say we had Epps coming up and playing almost like a hybrid linebacker role.
Yeah, I mean,
Which
I think
he can,
I
like
think the player
Hobbs.
that's most known for it is probably like Jamal Adams.
Yeah.
I think Jamal was kind of like one of the very first safeties in today's day and age that was doing more of that role, and then they've started to go that role with Epps. But when you have versatility, but it also shows a lot of confidence in Merrick, where Merrick now in third year, which I'm happy because you think about a player coming out of TCU, he got the award for the best defensive back coming out of college football. He was my number one safety coming out of the draft, and I mean, when you deal, though, with different defensive concepts and it's always switching, like I thought he had a really good rookie season because Gus Bradley's system is essentially cover three. Here it is. Try to beat it. Let's not get too complicated. Now you bring in Josh McDaniels, who, Jesus Christ, I mean, nightmare. And now you bring in a brand new defensive coordinator in Patrick Graham. Now he's got to learn that one. And now in year two in the Patrick Graham system, I mean, you're just seeing how much more comfortable he is. But even the Raiders' defense is good.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. The Raiders' defense is good. When was the last time you were able to say that?
No, I mean, that ugly Bears loss, they should have hung like 40 on us. We were on the field for so long.
Yep.
I saw them have 3 really productive possessions,
Yep.
and they're walking away with like 6 points.
Brutal.
Bend, don't break. And I mean, that's the only time that we've seen our defense be successful in the past, right? Okay, our defense is playing good this game. They're moving the ball down the field, but they're getting stops whenever they need to.
Yeah.
So I do see in the comments here, Gunsmoke Games, GG. It's been how many years of asking for help up front for Crosby? Yeah. I feel like that's all our defense needs. And it's not just Crosby. We did the same thing whenever Mac was a pass rusher, right? And we brought in these veteran guys that were supposed to be the ones that filled the hole. Yeah. We got away with it, a year or two with Bruce Irvin. We kind of had something with Chandler. We had something in Yannick.
Yep.
But now we're stuck, hoping our first-round rookie can step up the rest of the year. And possibly he can.
He's going to be all right. I mean, I think you're already seeing him starting to get better and better and better. And the initial plan that McDaniels had was, all right, we're going to sign Chandler Jones. Mm-hmm. Chandler Jones was, supposed to not do what he's doing. I don't know what he's doing. I don't even know if he knows what he's doing. But the objective there was you're hoping that Tyree Wilson turns into a player like Chandler Jones, because when Chandler Jones was at his peak, I mean, he was one of the best defensive ends. He's going to be a Hall of Famer, right, if he doesn't screw up doing some other stuff off the field. But you're hoping that Tyree Wilson can replicate what Chandler Jones is able to do, be a defensive end, hand in the dirt, but also be a stand-up outside linebacker. And you were hoping that you weren't going to have to rush back Tyree Wilson, unfortunately, because Chandler, went off the rails a little bit. You were forced to put Tyree Wilson in a situation where I don't know if he was ready for it right away. I don't know if he was 100% healthy. And he's been getting better and better. I like what I've seen from Malcolm Kuntz, but to me, I can't wrap my mind around the idea of why can't the Raiders cut Brandon Bolden, save $1.1 million is basically what it is. It'd be the vet minimum. What's up, Tyler? Save like the vet minimum and go out and sign a guy like Jason Pierre-Paul to the practice squad. Said he's willing to do it. Said only for a playoff team, but like, why can't we do something like that? Or go out and get a Melvin Ingram. Go out and get a Carlos Dunlap. I mean, to me, the Raiders are such a frustrating team at times.
Yeah,
because to me, you gotta go. You gotta go out and you gotta build up the middle. I mean, signing Robert Spillane is probably the biggest L that I have taken this offseason, because I did not expect that. And
which it's a good thing to take an L if you're downplaying a guy and he exceeds the expectations.
I mean, think about, like, again, when certain guys do certain things, like when Max Crosby broke his hand back in 2019 in the preseason, he's like, get me back out there on the field. That's Raider mentality. Robert Spillane breaks his hand in the middle of the Lions game, gets sewn back up, goes back out there, gets surgery during the middle of the week, plays during the Giants game.
Yeah, and he's practicing in full right now during the week.
I'm telling you,
not even taking any rest.
It's unbelievable.
I broke my finger 2 months ago, and I was like typing on the keyboard, like, ow. And he's out there making tackles.
I got a question for you guys. What do you guys? What have you thought about what you've seen from Jalen Smith so far?
Not enough.
I mean, I want to see a little bit more. I was excited when the Raiders signed Smith because he has some ties with Patrick Graham. And to be honest, as soon as they signed him, I was like, shit, I don't know what's going to be going on with Divine Diablo, because Diablo is a super talented player. Luke Masterson's going to be back this week, but Jalen Smith is a leader. And I think that's one of the things where, again, you got to go out and sometimes you got to find a guy who I can rely on. You need another leader, and I feel like the fact that he's a linebacker with Antonio Pierce, they're going to be able to have that language, that communication that's going to be essential to keep this defense rolling. And he's a good tackler. He's not going to be able to move sideline to sideline. His knees aren't quite the way that they were. He's got that knee issue ever since his scary injury, his final game at Notre Dame. But to me, you sign a player like Jalen Smith who can be Antonio Pierce on and off the field in the locker room, can be a leader. He's been a captain at Notre Dame. He's been a captain with the Giants, Cowboys, everywhere he's gone. And sometimes like you need guys like that.
Yeah.
And that's what you need.
Yeah.
I think he makes a bigger impact probably off the field than on, but I thought he looked okay this past week.
Yeah, he was making some plays.
Yeah.
Saw him around the field making a couple tackles, but
Especially in a game like this with a lot of run, like he needs to stop the run.
Speaking of Chandler Jones, shout out to Ivan in the chat. By looking at his Twitter as of now, 4 hours ago, he reminded everybody to use condoms. And then an hour ago, he's looking for cell phone service at the High Roller in the Flamingo. So he's currently on the strip looking for phone service.
should we go recruit him in here?
Go track him down.
He messaged me on Twitter the other day and said that he wanted to join the show. And usually when a player, I mean, can you even imagine that?
Oh my God.
Imagine him on live, like in an interview. I mean, that'd
be fun.
I don't know. Would it?
Maybe. For us. I don't know about for you.
I don't know if it would be fun. I'd be like,
I'd be entertained. Like, you could have probably the most pressed show of your life, an interview, and you could hate the show, but we're going to be entertained.
For sure.
For sure.
So you got to take one for the
I
team.
would love to
take
see
one for
that.
the team.
Yeah.
Yikes. I
Yeah.
mean,
You win 24 hours live. What's the worst that could happen?
he pulls something out and my YouTube channel gets shut down.
Oh.
Like
Audio only. And then you have like little bleep.
even that?
I even think he could break TOS just.
I don't know.
Okay, right.
And that's the unfortunate part is when you bring somebody on, you have like that trust factor of they're not going to do anything that gets my livelihood shut down. I
Can't trust Chandler.
don't know if I can trust them. And if you can,
Why not?
Who?
Chandler. Why can't you
Chandler?
trust him?
Because I don't know if Chandler's there, man. And it's
Well, you
I
could do
hope
like
that
a
he gets the help that he
You
needs.
do like a pre-recording, right?
Huh?
You don't have to go live. You can maybe record it and.
Yeah, I guess I could do pre-recording, but that's like that's not as fun. If you're gonna interview Chandler Jones, you can only go live.
Yeah.
I'd be more worried about the chat. Like if he's live on the show and he's watching the chat, what they would say in the chat.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Set him off.
Just react. Could you imagine?
Yes,
Be like,
I can.
Gunsmoke Gamer. You know what I mean? Wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Condoms.
Condoms. Use condoms.
I think it'd be dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd watch it.
Okay.
I'd probably tune in all 26 hours too if you did it.
Imagine if you had Chandler Jones on your 26-hour stream.
Only if Jerry Springer Mitch joins.
Jerry.
Are we missing any players here on this
RIP,
team to
man.
talk about? Who else can we shout out? I think we got
Like in terms of guys who have stepped up this season and done a
who
really
are we
solid
missing?
job.
Marcus Peters,
Peters has done a hell of a
shown
job.
flashes.
Yeah, I mean, I think Peters has done a good job being a leader. Amika obviously has been balling out. The one player who's starting to get a lot better, and I'm excited to see how much better he gets as the season continues to go, is Michael Mayer.
Yeah.
Because Mayer, was one of those guys where, again, he was my number one tight end coming out of Notre Dame. I had as a top 10 overall prospect. I thought he can catch 6'4", 260 pounds. He can run. And he was a good blocker in college. Really struggled the first few games, but now you're starting to see him getting used a lot more, and he's starting to show, like, all right, like, I'm a lot better of a blocker. He's starting to be able to get more reps over Austin Hooper. Mayer is going to be a dude where I think in 2-3 years from now, we look at Mayer as kind of like a Mark Andrews, or he's never really going to be the George Kittle, the Travis Kelce in my mind, but he can be a top 5 tight end in the NFL.
Tight ends never show out their rookie year.
It's tough.
They don't just come. I mean, they
It's
got
a learning curve.
You're basically playing. I mean, you can say this about a lot of positions in the NFL. You're playing 2 positions. I mean, you're chipping blocks, you're catching passes.
That's the biggest. It's the blocking, right? Because Mayer in college, for the most part, is probably the most athletic, biggest player, strongest guy most of the time on the field. Like,
Yeah.
when you're that good, you're that good. But now,
It's leveled out.
it's the video of Max Crosby saying, like, watch what I'm about to do here. And
Yeah.
Max is so confident that he's going to be able to beat Mayer that bad.
But that's not fair.
I get it. It's not fair, but sometimes, like, that's the learning curve
Yeah.
in the NFL where it's the blocking. Like, we
And
know
Max
that
knows what he's doing. He's training him up. He's getting him better.
good. But I mean, like, we need more Max Crosbys.
Yeah.
And you get Antonio Pierce saying Michael Mayer's a tough SOB. I want more SOBs on the Raiders. Like, I want to be the team that's feared. I'm not going to be the guy fighting in the background. Like,
Dalton.
yeah, we'll go with Dalton, but I'm not going to be doing that. But, like, I want my
Still
players to
about
go
to,
out
man.
there, and I want people to be afraid to play the Raiders again. I feel like they kind of have like that mentality right now where you know what, we're going to go out there, we're going to beat you up, and that can go a really, really long way, especially for an entire season.
Drop in the chat any last-minute questions you guys have. We're probably going to run this out another 5 minutes or so.
Cool.
Shout out to Mitch. Appreciate you coming in, jumping on the live.
Yeah, man, I didn't know what this morning was going to be because my dad, he shows up a little bit late. I was up until like 4 a.m. waiting for him to get into Vegas, and I think I got maybe like 2 or 3 hours of sleep. Ooh. Got some coffee in me, got a little bit of mimosa. That brought me back to life.
Welcome to Vegas.
I might have to crush a Happy Dad.
Okay.
And then
we're going to Barcode after this. You guys have plans?
Yeah, they want to go check out the stadium. So I'm going to show them the stadium. I am going to be doing a meetup tonight at Red Tail. Hopefully you guys show up after you guys are at 8.
Yep.
So if anybody is in Las Vegas from 7 to 9 tonight, first 10 people, drinks are on me. So I want to have a good time with the nation. And man, this weekend has been contagious where the excitement's in the air. People are happy to be a Raider fan again. And all is good, but they got to win. I mean,
exactly.
You got to win on Sunday Night Football.
Well, we do our part every time, right? Raider Nation shows up, has a good time. Obviously,
Undefeated.
the attendance flip-flops depending on how the team's doing. And I don't blame them. Who wants to come drop, $2-3 grand in Vegas if you're not confident in the team? But I think, we got the ball rolling again. Can't say it enough. 77% estimated. Going to feel good. The energy was high last week.
Yep.
And that wasn't even, that's maybe 50-50 still. It's just Raider fans were just juiced and feeling it. And you could tell. We noticed with the Raiders-Packers weekend.
Yeah.
Home. To me, that was a 50-50 split. Maybe a hair more Packers. But the amount of noise when the Packers made a play and the Raiders made a play was, you couldn't even tell.
Yeah.
It was like 80-20. And it's like, this is embarrassing. So, hey, I think we're going to show up, show out. Tonight, if you guys are watching this from Las Vegas, 1, why aren't you here right now with us hanging out? 2, check out Mitch at Red Tail. I'll probably be popping in there. I'm here with my dad. I think we're going to go race some K1 carts.
Yeah?
Yeah, do a little something after Barco Burgers. I got to get my burger in me. This is the first trip I think I've made to Vegas in the last dozen trips where I didn't make my first stop Barcode, and my stomach's reminding me right now.
I think this will be my first trip, unfortunately, where I don't go to Barcode. I mean, I want to. I know my dad's been talking about it. He's like, yo, we should go. I'm like, I don't know if we're going to be able to squeeze it all in, but.
Are you guys doing the tour?
The what?
Are you doing a stadium tour, or are you just checking it out?
A tour or a tour?
Tour. Are you doing a stadium
tour?
Stadium visit?
Yeah. No, unfortunately, they were totally sold out. They just want to go. They want to get some Raider stuff. My dad's girlfriend's here. Shout out to Amy. So, we're going to try to deck her out some silver and black.
Nice. Should be a good time.
Yeah, I can't wait.
So, Booty Bang Bros just commented, can we finish in the first place in the AFC West?
With a name like Booty Bang Bros, he sounds like he finishes a lot. I don't really know if, first place in the AFC West, we can have our dreams, right? You got to go out, you got to play the best team in the NFL, which is the Kansas City Chiefs, right? You got to bring your A-plus game. Mm-hmm. And if you don't bring your A-plus game, you don't have a chance. You can hate on Patrick Mahomes, you can hate on Andy Reid. That's where the NFL is. That's the team to beat every single week. Now, the thing I love about the NFL, you got a team like the Denver Broncos who stink. They're able to take down Kansas City. Sure, Mahomes had the flu. I don't want to hear excuses.
Whatever.
Go out there and play, right?
He played.
Exactly. He played. Go out there and play. If you can hang with Kansas City, to me, you can win out all these other games. And if I'm Mark Davis or whoever's going to be the guy that picks that next head coach, I want to know that my team's going to be able to go out. And if you can play competitive football for 4 quarters, 8 quarters, let's go, 2 games left against Kansas City, that's going to be the biggest resume builder that you can put on. If I'm Antonio Pierce, I know, don't get me wrong, I want to be able to make the playoffs, but you put 2 solid games on Christmas when everyone's watching, and then week 12 at home against Kansas City, you put that at the very top of your resume.
Yeah.
That's your resume builder, why I'm the next Raiders head coach.
Okay. Let's wrap this thing up with some score predictions. Start with the clothing guy, Dalton. Raiders-Jets, Week 10, Sunday Night Football.
I think the over-under was 50, 55.
No chance.
No, it was low. It was low.
I bet you it's 37.
Oh.
No, it was,
Lower than that?
it was. Because I think it was about 19 and a half
thinking
each,
of
I think, or something like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's 36 and a half, 37. If it's 50, we're leaving here and we're gonna go put
all of
our money.
I must be thinking of a totally different game then.
I agree.
I'd say 24-17 Raiders.
All right, I like it.
Close game. I can see that. How about you, Red Hat?
34-17.
34 on the Jets?
Yeah. We're getting
I love it.
If we put 34 on the Jets,
It's gonna be watch. They're gonna come out banging. And
okay.
It's gonna be 34-17.
So you're saying first drive touchdown starts it off?
Yes.
Okay, 34-17. Where you at, Mitch?
So the score that I've been going with is 23-16 Raiders.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to go 21-17.
So we're all giving the Jets 17-16.
Yeah, they ain't getting 20 on us.
Okay.
Hey, we have time for one more question.
What is it?
Like the longevity of Antonio Pierce with the grumblings of wanting to keep Bisaccia around, kind of an thrown into interim head coach position.
I could see that.
How do you think he'll handle it after the season?
I wonder how much Mark Davis thinks about him letting Bisaccia go.
Right.
And the repercussions of that.
Right.
And factoring that into now Antonio Pierce. That's only saying, now look where Bisaccia set the bar. We took a team that had a very successful start, right? We won our first 2 or 3 games that season, and then we kind of stumbled off. We're 3-3 or something like that when he took over. What was it?
So they started out 3-0, and then when they were 5-2 right before, because they beat the Philadelphia Eagles 5-2, and then they played the Giants week 9, and then all that other stuff with Ruggs and Gruden happened. So they were 5-2.
And then we fell off, went like 500 after the coaching change, but then we started rolling.
Yeah, we won our final 4 games.
I mean, we got in the playoffs, which is really, it shouldn't have happened.
6-7, and I mean, if you remember those games, though, we backed ourselves. Like we played a really bad Browns team, played a really bad, I want to say Colts team.
Yeah.
Beat the Chargers. I forget the other team that the Raiders beat, but it wasn't like not a pretty one. I mean, here's the thing. I've had the opportunity to speak with, people close to Bisaccia, and I really think like Rich is the type of dude that he would respect the fact that, you know what, maybe it wasn't me, but if the Raiders decide to go with Antonio Pierce and they decide to like go in that direction, then, you're not going to find a guy like Bisaccia who did handwritten letters to players. I don't think he's going to be mad that somebody else got the job over him. Like, yeah, like he might be, man, that could have been me.
Yeah.
Could have been me. But if I'm Bisaccia, like, you know what? I'm a special teams coordinator still for the Green Bay Packers. If I'm Bisaccia, I don't even know if I want to be back with the Raiders. Like, I think if the Raiders like, yo, Rich, you want to be a head coach? I think he would probably take it, but he'd be like, man, you guys passed on me.
Yeah. I could see Pierce sticking around, but that's, I mean, look, we're going off of one game. At this point, he is the best possible head coach that we could have this season as an interim.
Right. Yeah, just going to be really interesting to see how
week 12, week 13, and obviously towards the end of the season, I think we'll know. And obviously, I think just with Mark Davis's checkbook right now on head coaches, going an Antonio Pierce route might save him a little bit.
That's true too.
I mean, that's
point.
like people are like, I want Harbaugh. Harbaugh's going to cost a lot of money.
He's going to cost more than Gruden and McDaniels.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a hefty price tag, which maybe does make you go Antonio Pierce. Like, to me, my top offensive-minded coach, like if they don't go Pierce, I like Ben Johnson a lot from the Detroit Lions. Like, that's kind of my guy there. And then on the defensive side, I'm always curious, like if Dan Quinn deserves to get like another shot, or the defensive coordinator from the Cincinnati Bengals, Lou, and I can never pronounce his last name. It begins with an A. But he's like 56 years old. He's gone up against Kansas City Chiefs, and the last 3 times they've gone up against have held Kansas City underneath 24 points. His defense continues to change. His defense continues to get more modern, and you got to be able to switch things up. So to me, if they don't go with Pierce, I like Lou, the defensive coordinator from Cincinnati. I think Ben Johnson, like I said, from Detroit, is going to bring something like that toughness over. But man, you got to root for you have to root for Antonio Pierce right now.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Gotta.
We need a young guy. And if it's offensive-minded young guy, that's best case scenario. That's who's taking over the league.
Yeah.
It's either McDaniel, the Shanahans, the McVays. But obviously, if there's only 3 of them in the league, you're not going to be able to find one. Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
We got going on this weekend, man.
Last question, then we'll close it out. This is from Anthony, how many wide receivers catch the ball tomorrow? I'm going to just go with 7.
Wait,
7.
7.
On one team?
On our team. How many total wide
7
receivers?
receivers.
You're going with
That's
7
7
receivers
receivers.
catching the ball?
Spreading the ball.
That's
But
going to
you
be
won't give 34
Mayer,
points?
Hooper, Devontae,
But you won't give,
Renfro.
Mayer's
you won't
a
give
receiver.
34 points?
Well, I didn't
But you
say
give
7
7.
touchdowns.
No, but you're giving 7 receivers. Last game, 7 receivers didn't even touch the ball.
Yeah, they did.
Want to see?
They did.
Let's see.
I mean, Renfro, Adams, Jacoby, Trey Tucker, Mayer, Hooper. That's 6.
I'm going 5.
6 receivers.
I'm going 5.
If we're gonna count tight ends as receivers, then yeah, I'm gonna go that. Because when you said 7 receivers, I'm like, there's not even 7 receivers. Like
Last week was
receivers on the
8.
team. Yeah. Well, you counting Jacobs? Is that a receiver?
Yeah. Receivers, not wide receivers, right? What do you
Okay,
got?
I'm trying to. Is that a receiver?
Bro.
A receiver. A receiver is someone that receives the ball.
So anybody can be. Oh my
I mean.
God, bro! This guy.
That's a receiver. If you look
Okay.
at receiving stats, it's not just wide receivers.
I mean, I don't know. When I hear
did I say,
receivers,
is it wide
Mikey
receiver?
receives a lot of things. He's
Yeah,
just not-
I'm not a receiver, bro.
would
You
that
are a
tongue
receiver.
ring?
If you caught the ball tomorrow, you'd be a receiver.
I'll be a giver. Let's go. Anyways,
He's a catcher.
I'm going 5. I'm going 5.
receiver and a catcher.
I'm not going 7. That's way too high.
Well, I'm going
I'm going
6.
5.
If it's 5,
I like
can
how
we- can we
that's way
punish him?
too high, but 34 is fine.
We're going 5. Watch, you'll see. 5.
5.
So wait, you think 5 guys are going to catch the football and we're scoring 34?
Correct.
Got it.
Correct.
That's why he wears red.
Are you writing
Raider
this
hat.
down?
Somebody else could have
Hey, are you
300
writing this
yards.
down? Are you writing this down?
He's wearing a red Raider hat.
Because I'm going to text you.
It's
so
on
you writing this
YouTube.
down. Okay. Make sure you remember it in your head too. So like when I text you.
promise you.
So what if it's
Actually,
more
I
than
think
5?
I'm going to be next to you
What
at
if
the
it's more
game.
than
I
5?
promise you, I'll forget the entire conversation even happened.
Oh my Jesus.
This.
Okay, what are you going with?
I like 8. I like 8 again.
$1.
8. What'd you do? 8?
Huh?
What'd you guess?
6.
6.
And I went 5.
5, 6,
They're
7,
going to
8.
spread the ball out. AP's going to bring it out. He's going to.
How you give me hard shit for 5 and you gave 6? This is one more player.
Math. There you
Okay,
go.
man.
Good job.
Math is
Jesus.
math.
This guy gets it.
The math is
Jesus,
math.
man.
This guy gets it.
Oh man.
Football is math. Is that what we're saying?
Oh, man.
on,
Again,
man.
shout out to Mitch. Thank you for coming by, man.
Thanks,
Really
brother, man.
appreciate it. Every time you're in Vegas, you're always welcome on the
Shout
show.
out to Julian.
Shout out to the Peanut Gallery. I don't know if they're going to be welcome back. We'll see how the stats
I don't
line
blame
out.
you guys.
Man,
Honestly,
we
allow it.
we
We'll
drove the
allow it.
viewings up, bro. We
I
drove
don't
the
blame you
viewings
guys
up.
if you don't have us
Let's
back.
go. Shout out to Happy Dad Pacifico and Woodson Whiskey making the show happen and always keeping us refreshed on our game days and regretting Mondays. So, if you're in town tonight, Red Tail in Las Vegas,
Please.
Mitch will be there. I'll probably be there. These guys will probably be there hanging out before. We got a primetime game tomorrow. So, you guys can enjoy your Saturdays again here in Vegas.
Hell yeah.
And then going from there, our game day experience here, starting at Barcode Burgers at noon. If you're in town this weekend, jump on it. Go to our website, blackoutdivision.com. If you're planning a game in the future, please check in with us. We run a game day party bus. You go to Barcode, hang out for a couple hours. A 40-person party bus shows up. We load that thing full of Raider fans and a few opposing team fans, but they don't matter. We go over to the stadium. We get dropped off. We tailgate with DJ Mike Scott. We have a great time going to the stadium. Most games we do an after party inside the Wynn Field Club, and then party bus back. It's really the ultimate game day experience. I can't think of anything to add to it to make it any better. So if you guys are in town, any home game weekend, tap in with us, blackoutdivision.com. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the thumbs up button. If you think Mikey's predictions are terrible, I will risk
Absolutely.
it. Throw some thumb down buttons just for him, just so I can keep track. No,
Absolutely terrible.
no matter what, like the show.
I can't wait until
Imagine if they dropped
Yeah.
34 with 5
they're going
receivers.
to 34 with 5 receivers. Watch.
I'm literally going to be live and be like, that mother effer.
You don't even shout me out, bro. Stop lying.
You got super
Mikey
chat.
sees the vision.
Yeah, super chat it, dude. You got super chat it. All right. Thanks for tuning in, Raider Nation. Coming to you week 10 ahead of the Raiders Jets. Let's get that W. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.
Deuces.